In our last unit we multiplied factors together. Now we are going to work the other direction. We're going to be given the product and asked to find the factors. This first lesson we're going to look at the greatest common factor. And the greatest common factor between 3 and 9, or 3x and 9, is 3. You put the greatest common factor on the outside, and when you factor it, you're multiplying here, so we need to divide on our factors. So this would be 3x plus 9. So when I take that 3 out, that's like I'm dividing each of these by 3. So this will be 3, and that will be x plus 3. You don't need to do this middle step. I just wanted to show you how it was working. And that middle step does help some people. Notice if I multiply this out, this would be 3 times x, which is 3x, and 3 times plus 3, which is plus 9. So I would get that 3x plus 9. My next one, I have a 2 that goes into both of those. So I'm going to put a 2 on the outside, which means I'm dividing each of those by 2. When I divide 4x by 2, I get 2x. When I divide 10 by 2, I get plus 5. So I skipped the middle step on that and I went directly to the answer. I don't care if you put that middle step in. I'm totally fine if you do, whichever is easiest for you to do. If you multiply this out, that would be 4x, and then 2 times 5 does give you the 10. On the next one, they don't have a number besides 1 in common, but they do have a letter in common. I'm going to pull out the letter x. And when I do that, I'm dividing x squared. Remember, x squared is x times x. I'm dividing that by x, and I'm dividing 5x by x. One of those will cancel. I still have the x on the outside, and then parentheses, I'm left with an x here. The x's cancel here, and I'm left with a plus 5. So I took one of the x's out. Notice if I multiply this, x times x does give you the x squared, and x times 5 does give you the 5x. For the next one, they also have an x in common. I did the middle step that first on number 3. Let's skip it on number 4. This, I'm going to pull out an x, so I'm dividing this by x, which leaves me with 3x, one of the x's divided out. And then when I divide this by x, I'll have plus 4. And you can check your answer by multiplying this out. X times 3x is 3x squared. X times 4 is 4x. On the next one, they both have a number and a letter that you can pull out. The greatest common factor for the 8 and the 12 is 4, and they each have an n in common. So I'm going to take 12n squared and divide it by a 4 and an n. And I have 8n that I'm dividing by the 4 and the n. So multiplication and division will undo each other. So you're factoring it out. On this one of the n's cancel. And if I divide 12n by 4, I'll get 3n. The 4n stays on the outside. And then 8n divided by 4, and the n's cancel out. And this is 8 over 4, so that's going to be minus 2. Notice you can check your answer, multiply it out, see if it works. 4 times 3 is 12, and then n times n is n squared, so that gives me the 12n squared. And 4n times minus 2 will give me the minus 8n. On the next one, these have a number. Looks like 2 goes into both of those. This has a squared, but this only had 1a, so it has an a in common. This has a b squared, but this only had 1b, so they only have 1b in common. Remember, factors are fewer, so the most that they share is 1a and then 1b. That is my greatest common factor now. So you're going to divide each of these by 2ab. I'm going to go ahead and do that middle step, I think, on this one. So this is 16aab. plus 10ABB. And I'm going to divide that now by the greatest common factor, which I took out. So that's 2AB. The 2AB stays on the outside. And notice one of the B's cancels, one of the A's cancels. And so for the first one, 16 over 8, or 2 is 8. So this is going to be 8A. On the next one of the B's cancels. One of the A's cancels. 10 over 2 is 5, and then I still have a B. And you could multiply this out. If I do that, 2 times 8 is 16. A times A is the A squared, and then I still have the B. On the second term, 2 times 5 is 10. I have an A, and then B times B is B squared. So it does work. Let's scoot my paper up. My next example is number 7. Okay, I have 20, 15, and 5. 5 is the smallest number, and factors of 5 are 1 and 5. It is prime. So 5 does go into 20 and 15, so I'm going to pull out a 5. This has an R, this has an R squared, this has an R. So these only have one R in them, so I only can pull out one R as my greatest common factor. I have an S squared here. This one only has a single S, this has a single S, so I have a single S that they have in common. You can write these 3 terms and then divide them all by 5RS. Let's see if we can do that without that middle step now though. So 20 divided by 5 is 4. I'm dividing by the R, so this R will cancel out. I'm dividing by the S, so I'll still have one less S left in there. This is minus, divide this negative 15 by the 5, so you're going to get negative 3. I'm going to take one of the R's out, so I'm left with an R in there. And then I took the S out, so I divided by that S. So I'm left with minus 3R. And then for my last term, I'm dividing 5RS by 5RS. You don't get 0. When you have 5 divided by 5, that would be 1. R divided by R would be 1. S divided by S would be 1. So this is going to be plus 1. If you're a little shaky on if that really works, let's multiply it out. 5 times 4 is the 20. And then I have the R, and then S times S is S squared. First term is good. 5RS times negative 3R. So that's going to be negative 15. R squared and an S. That is my second term. And then 5RS times 1 does give you 5RS. If you know a product and one of its factors, you can use division to find the other factor. To divide a polynomial, you're dividing each term of the polynomial by the monomial. So this time I'm actually dividing by 3. So I'm just going to take my 9b squared minus 15, and I'm dividing each of these by 3. 9 divided by 3 is 3b squared, and then minus 5. I'm not factoring anything out because I was given divided by that value. On the next one, I'm going to take my polynomial, and I think I'll write x squared as xx, and then this says yy, plus 5xy. And I'm dividing this polynomial by 5xy. So I'm going to divide each of those terms by 5xy. And that will give me 10 divided by 5, which is 2. One of the x's will cancel, so I'll be left with an x. One of the y's will cancel, I'll be left with a y. And then cancel, 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 and 5 divided by 5 is 1. So those cancel too. On my next problem, I have 12nn minus 15n, and I'm dividing the whole thing by 3n, so I'm dividing each term by 3n. 12 divided by 3 is 4, and one of the n's cancel. 15 divided by 3 is 5, so it's going to be minus 5, and notice the n's cancel. And last problem for these set of notes. I have 3c squared, so I write CCD, plus 9CD, and that's over 3CD. Okay, I have a C that cancels, a D that cancels, those 3's cancel, so I'm left with, for the first term, a C. And on the next one, the D's cancel, C's cancel, 9 divided by 3 is 3. And this will complete the notes.